morning. Welcome to Wuxing Long Pai, Taijiquan. My name is Jeff Cote, and I am the Occidental Taoist. This morning, as you can see, we're back outside again. And that's so I've got enough room to go through the whole form again. And what I'm going to probably do this morning is we're going to start over. We'll go through the whole form one time, but we'll also start with some basic functionals. We'll go back to the very beginning, to the first 4 moves to each side, analyze the basic structures again, trying to examine them with our greater understanding. This is a process I've done over and over and over and over in my own practice, is I just rebuild the form. I go through it from the very beginning, taking sections of it at a time, developing my understanding and my skill, and then all the way to the end, and I practice the full form. And then I go back to the beginning, and I'm always, working with the full form, but I'm also always going back to the beginning in my training and working through sections, just developing a more complete understanding, deeper understanding, and really just the practice of breaking it apart and taking my time and looking at it again is always revealing to me, and I hope it will be revealing to you as well. So let's start off with our feet roughly shoulder width and parallel, tongue lightly touching the roof of the mouth. You want to suspend the head as though suspended by the bifaith point on a string, and relax the spine down. Relax the tailbone as if a weight is hanging from it, allowing the spine to let go. We want to make sure our weight is in the center of the triangles of the foot. If you're just joining us and aren't familiar with what that means, it's the load-bearing portion of the foot. It's shaped in roughly a triangle. Everybody's foot is slightly differently shaped, so that triangle changes shape slightly. But you want to feel that, and you want to feel where the center of each of those are. You want to make sure your weight is going through the middle of that, so that it's not so far into the ball of the foot that you're tensing your shins. It's not so far back on the heels that you're feeling like you're sitting back and you're kind of either falling backwards or kind of heavy in the feet without an ability to adapt. You want a sense of deep connection to the ground and rootedness without the sense of being unable to move or that it's difficult to move. Okay, so find that sweet spot. Go between each foot. Take the time to find that. Stack the 3 dantians on top of each other so that center line is open and relaxed along with the spine. Make sure the hips are soft and buoyant, that the qua, which are all the tissues that surround the ball and socket joint, are released and open, and there is a sense of freedom in here, sense of easy transfer, both in motion, but also in force and energy. So you want to feel the flow of gravity. I like to align the right and left channels, which is not unique to Wuxing Long Pai, but certainly not not talked about in a lot of other systems. These right and left channels come from this Jianjing points, straight down into the ball and socket joints of the hips, and then down to the feet. They also include a connection from that through the center of the arm to the lao bone points in the center of the hands. We want to feel those connections along with the center line. So there's sort of 3 lines or structures we're paying attention to: center line and the right and left channels. And we always want to be aware of the relationship that they have to each other, as well as their own relationship to the ground and to the flow of gravity. We allow the breath to sink all the way down into the lower abdomen, allowing the feeling of the breath to come all the way down and press down into this lower dantian. Relax the chest. Don't artificially prop it, but don't collapse either. Just relax and let the energy from the chest drop down and sink into the lower dantian. Bring the hands out in front of the lower abdomen. And we're going to begin with just inhaling and expanding. Now, this initial inhale and expand is very important. It's probably the most important thing you can learn to do, the sense of expansion from the center and the return from the extremities in a receptive manner back to the center. So there's this sense of outreaching and receiving. Developing that awareness is very powerful and important. And then we're going to pause for a moment. Focus on that lower dantian. As you inhale, feel the gathering power of that compression of the breath. Get a gentle jing draw, or what they call teasing ball, where you gently draw up on the perineum of the pelvic floor. Gently draw inward and upward on the urethral muscles. Same thing with the rectal muscles and then the core. So everything gathers inward. It isn't a pull. You don't want it to be strong like you're drawing up or working hard. It's just a gentle gathering that's consistent but powerful. And on the exhale, we release and expand out. Just follow that release. But we don't release the pelvic floor or the sense of containment that we've developed here. We just release some of the pressure of the gathering. And release that on the exhale. When you inhale, it's like your whole body just breathes and gathers inward. And then we bounce. Now I'm really paying attention to the flow of gravity and working with it and letting my intent join with it as I press down and bounce back up. Working with the natural flow and the resultant energy of physics, action and reaction. My biggest goal here is to reduce internal resistance to flow. Meanwhile, I'm maintaining structural integrity and that sense of straight up and down, the freedom in here. This is very important, getting that feeling of freedom through the quad. And then counterswing. Now here you'll notice my hips are fairly square. The shoulders are turning back and forth. They're turning as a product of the momentum of the drop. My intention is to expand out, and then when I drop straight down and just give just enough movement that the shoulders begin to turn. But it has to come from the center and the center line, not from the power of the shoulders and muscles of the arm and chest. It comes from a combination of momentum and intention. My intentions always come out of my center. When you really begin to understand this particular move, you'll begin to understand how this inhale and this receiving inward towards the center is an integral part of this intention. So is the expansion. This is as well. And so we're learning to create that very first movement. And from here, we've got column swing. As you'll notice, those of you that have been following along for a while, have been doing this with me for some time, you'll notice that I'm using a very basic position. I'm not doing hand position changes or rotational changes of the right and left channel. And that's because as we're going back to the beginning, I want to go back to this fundament, this idea of the expand and return, and work with it without having other things being added to it yet. And then from here, we've got counter column swing. Same idea. It's still expand and return. And then close. Now, one of my favorite practices for standing is Ling Kong Jing. And while it's not Wu Ji, which has its own merits, one of the reasons why I like it is when you really practice it, with the fullness of your awareness and intention without distraction, really not letting your mind wander, but letting it stay with the action of the movement and the structure and the intention and the breath, and it all comes together as a true Qigong. It teaches a lot about intention, about how we activate action with the power of our intent and how it can come from here and how that flows through the body into action. And the result of that, not only on the body, but on the field of the personal self. So we're going to start. We're going to do, starting with circling palms low, the Dantian level. So we start here, sink into the stance. And I want to imagine that there's resistance. Not enough that I need to tighten up or use a lot of tension, but just imagine that there's just a subtle resistance. What would that feel like? How would you activate your body? So you're activating with a little bit more potency, but you're trying to stay as relaxed as possible to allow the activation free flow through the body. This process is one of the ways we want to learn to move. And we're doing the same thing at chest level. reverse direction. Any place where you feel like you're holding or fighting tension, if there's tension, examine it. Why is it there? Is it there because you're aligned improperly? Is it there because you're trying too hard? Can you let go and relax? Still encountering that sense of the imagined resistance, but staying completely relaxed while creating a powerful intention to move through. A part of that you'll notice is your relationship to the ground. We're always wanting to neutralize whatever imagined resistance we encounter through us into the ground. So if I imagine there was pressure here against my hands and arms as I go, I'm going to allow that pressure to travel through me into the ground so that it neutralizes. Same thing the other way. If I'm pulling, it's coming from the ground and I'm just moving. So there's stillness and motion. The stillness is the deep connection into something much, much deeper than yourself, much heavier, much more grounded. And you're just part of it. And then Chester. relaxed hand. Loosening the body, hands, wrists, and fingers. And the other way. Elbows. I've kind of got this same sense, even though I'm going through these motions and I'm trying to, the focus is on loosening joints and opening up parts of the body, making sure there's movement. I'm always still connected. I've always got this sense of the sphere of my space. I'm reaching for and intending from my center out and imagining a light resistance. Either way I'm going. And I'm just, now that I've been doing it, it's easier to maintain. So I don't want to lose it. So that's present underneath the physical action. Learning to take this action into quicker motions. This is an important training that's subtle. But you got to stay with it. And then shoulders. And the other way. Opening and closing the chest and shoulders. And trunk twists from the center. Now we shift and turn. Everything we've been doing, we're still doing. Just changing the motion. Patting the waist and the hips. Waist rotation, circling the daimai, just circling around. Keeping the hips parallel to the ground and the other way. Letting your awareness move around that daimai, around that girdling vessel which surrounds the waist. And we bring our awareness from the waist down to the ball and socket joints of the hips. Widen the feet just a little. Shift to one side, gently press down, straight down with the whole foot, the whole triangle of the foot, so that you get a feeling of pulling the ball and socket joint of the hip open. And then we're going to try to just rotate that. Once we get it pulled open, just get a sense of rotation on that side. Just, I'm focusing right here. Not worrying about this one yet, except I'm trying to keep it support. Now, the more you practice, the longer you've been doing this, the more you should be able to keep awareness here and your structure as you work with this. At the beginning, you're going to be very absorbed in here, and this is going to have, you're not going to have the kind of level of awareness to be able to manage all of that. But as you practice more and more, you learn to include more outreach and include more with your awareness. meaning including more of how things operate too. And the other one. And we shift to the other side. Again, gently press down, get that ball and socket joint hip to open up, and cycling around. And the other way. Then we're going to turn to one side, shift across, and watch the rotation. We're going to try to pay attention to both now as we start this rotation through. This one stretches and opens as it rotates one way. The other one, as I rotate the other, goes the other way. And I want to feel how the body comes down through the bowl of the pelvis. The ball and socket joints are together, and they're doing this as I move. And I want to feel that relationship through the whole leg, all the way down to the foot, and my relationship to the ground on both sides. Then we go the other way. Always with that tailbone, trying to extend down, open the low back, activating the main men in the low back. Once we have that, bring our legs together, shake it out for a second. Patting the legs. This is a thorough warm-up that I recommend you do before you practice the first time in the day, at least. I often do it before every practice, or at least variations of it. Sometimes I'll do a little less because I want to get into a practice. But this whole sequence we're doing here, I highly recommend you do at least once a day before you start your practice, because it starts to prepare you. It gets you in the mind space, really lets you kind of sink your awareness into all the parts of your body. Practice the various things we're practicing from the basis of expand and return, that sense of outreach and receive, the breathing being coordinated. It's all Qigongs, and yet it's also all this Jibengong, because you're also working your body while you're doing this, because you're trying to always elongate and open and extend, but not use a lot of force, just a little strong intention that you relax into and allow to flow. Together, feet flat on the ground, small circles with the knees. Again, keeping very aware. You should feel from your Ming Men in your low back, which should be supported, your core supported as you do this, so you can feel the whole relationship with intention from your core, from your lower dantian particularly, through the legs, through the knees, all the way to the feet, and your relationship to the ground. And at the same time, your center line is aligned. We're never just kind of ignoring it. Even when we seem to let it go, it's an active letting go while we're aware of the energy that's still present. But here we want it to be active and alive. The other way. You'll notice all sorts of little nuanced places where you can have tension up in here and inside the hip structure as you do this. This should reveal some of that, and you should be relaxing. And then deep bends, keeping the feet flat on the ground. My weight is always going straight through the triangle of the feet. That's my goal. And we shift into one leg, rotating the ankle and hip. Here I want to have a very powerful relationship from my center through the support leg, through the triangle of the foot and into the ground. I might be doing something active here, but this is the basis of this action. Always aware of the basis of your action, your stability, and your root to ground and your foundation. Go the other way. And foot and ankle. Other way. Brushing the grass. So we're just, now what we were doing with Ling Kong Jing, with that sense of gentle resistance, we're doing that with our foot too. Same idea. Stabilize. We've got to transfer any resistance we feel into the ground on this leg as we make little circles. And at first you may find you can only make small circles without your tension and resistance causing you to wobble. That's fine. Work within your range. As you relax and get stronger, the chi gets stronger, you'll be able to reach further and further. It's not about the size of the motion here. It's about its continuity. Go the other way. And then behind. And then the other way. Notice my heel stays down here. I'm not picking it up and just bending my leg. I'm extending. That's an important part of activating the body. And shake it out. We're not going to do a lot of the other stuff today because, like I said, we're going back to the beginning. When I first started sharing all this stuff, I didn't have you do a lot of the other stuff yet because I want you to master this. So, we'll do that again on other days too. But because today I'm really trying to go back to that idea of beginning mind, the very beginning stuff. We're going back to basics. And so we're just working on our basics, taking the time to do that, adding more complexity and other exercises in later. And ankle. Even here, I've got this sense of trying to imagine resistance. But staying relaxed. Going the other way with the foot. Brushing the grass. The other way. Behind. Other way. And shake them out. If you did that right, you should feel like your legs are working. Any blocks in your calves or tensions in your calves are going to get revealed very powerfully there. Next, straighten the legs, elongate the spine. We're going to do 2 dragons, circle the pond. This is a very important exercise for elongating the yang channels of the body. So we want to really focus on it. Take our time. Straighten the legs, press the knees back. This is one thing I see a lot. A lot of times people try to avoid this. You want to be really, really honest with yourself. Okay? What happens is people oftentimes will not want to straighten their legs. And I'm guessing it's because they're trying to reach lower or they're trying to get more of a stretch somewhere. And what you don't realize is if the origin and the insertion of the muscle is tight, you're going to be limited in how much you can loosen the rest of the length of the body, of the muscle body. By pressing the knees back and really straightening the legs, you are going to direct the stretch also onto the origin and the insertion of the muscles of the hamstrings, but also the low back, right? The calves too. And you'll be working with the entire fascia of the back, which is one of the other things we want to do. So don't skip on this. There is a value to bending the knees sometimes too, but if you're not doing it ever with the legs completely straight, you're missing something. Okay? So I always start with that. I flatten the back, elongate the spine. And I'm going to take my time here. I encounter a little bit of tension in my hamstring here. Not a lot. I could just ignore it and go right by it. But I notice there's a fiber that's tight, so I'm going to hang out here for a second and try to loosen it at the edge of its tension. And as it lets go, I start moving back down again. And I'm just slowly working my way down. My goal here isn't to prove anything, how low I can go. My goal here is to lengthen everything. So I'm going to take my time and do that. And you should too. So as I'm going, I'm looking for places where I feel tension. I'm going to shift slightly back and forth because you're going to change the angle of flow of the force of gravity and weight as it goes through your tissues. I always give myself just enough support so that I can relax the place that's tight and not letting me go further. So I go until I feel the tension pull and I can't let go anymore. And then I support myself a little bit with my arms until I can relax that muscle. And then I slowly ease into it again, looking for how I can let go. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to turn to one side. I'm going to keep my weight between my feet, but I'm going to play around a little bit with the flexion of my hip left and right just to feel where tension is and learn to let it go. Like if I push my hip, for me, pushing over to my left a little bit with my right side, engages a little bit of tension that I feel in my quadratus lumborum back here. So I engage with it. Go back to the other side. Same thing. As soon as I encounter tension, I might stop. Work my way through it. Then I'm going to reach with the back hand and the front hand, back hand to the back, front hand to the side, and just try to elongate the body. Sweep. Elongate the body. Center. Bend your knees. Put your hips underneath. Open up the hips. If you you can't be here, come down like this. The idea is to open up these inguinal muscles and the hips themselves. And here I'm trying to elongate the spine, lengthening the neck, the entire spine, from tailbone all the way up. Press up with the legs. Roll the spine up. Now, most of you aren't going to be able to get straight up like that, right? So when you come up, press into the low back and roll the spine up from bottom to top. So, now we take a deep breath in. Sink the shoulders, sink the legs, reach up, extending up with the palms, down through the right-left channels, and down. With a little bit of dragon spine, that serpentine articulation of the spine. Add in the arms for the shoulders. You get this, and the arms go back. And the other way. Up. And shake it out. All right, that's our entire warm-up, the whole Jiben Gong. Now what I want to do is, see what we have for time. Okay, first thing I want to do today is I want to flow through the whole long form. However, on Thursday of last week, I went through the whole long form really slow. I went really, really slow. Today, I'm going to do it at sort of a more moderate pace that should get us through this. Okay. Then on Thursday, we'll start over with the beginning of the form. Okay. If you're new to this, focus mostly on what we just, all the stuff we just covered. That entire sequence prepares you to have a deep enough understanding of the body to do this Wuxing Long Pai, this formless dragon style of Taijiquan. Okay. This time I'm going to face you. Last time I faced away, I think. I don't remember. Well, I'll face you, and if I didn't face away, then we'll get one. I will film one just separately, facing away, and I'll put it on my YouTube channel for people to follow along if they want to just have that to practice with. Tongue lightly touches the roof of the mouth, sensual equilibrium. Slide over here, just simply because I got to step to the left. So. Sleeping dragon awakens to find the root. Tai Chi beginning. Deflecting left and right. Roll back. And press. pounds of mortar. Split and open. Cross the hands, look to the right. Squeeze and press. Two dragons seal the gate. Roll the pearl and crane's bill. Hook. Bump, single win. Catch and pull down. Reflecting right. Press, step, turn on the heel. Mortal pounds of mortar. Split, step back. Back to the right. White crane bends off snake. Let it loop. Windmill the arms to brush past the knee. Pluck and play the loop. Outreach, neutralize, press. Outreach, neutralize, and press. Windmill the arms to brush past the knee. Pluck and play the loop. Outreach, neutralize, and press. Catch and pull down. Press out. Circling palms, right hand first. Punch and mortal pounds of mortar. Taiji reverse. Left and right. Left. Pull back. Press. Mortal pounds of mortar. Split and open. Cross the hands, look to the left. Squeeze, press. Push. Two dragons seal the gate. Roll the pearl and hook with crane speed. Bump, single win. Catch and pull down. Flex left, press, turn on the heel. Mortal pounds of mortar. Split, open and withdraw. Look back and white crane bends off snake. Play the loop. Windmill the arms to brush past the knee. Pluck, play the loop. Outreach, neutralize, press. Outreach, neutralize, and press. Windmill the arms to brush past the knee. Pluck, play the loop. Outreach, neutralize, and press. Catch and pull down. Press out. Circling palms, left hand first. And punch. And double pounds of mortar. Press out. And circling palms left. Shoulders. long uppercut punch. And squeeze right. Press, push down. Punch. Long sweeping cut. Right fist under left palm. Lost monkey. White crane kicks with one leg. Green dragon stirs the waves. Split. Grasp the arm. Back and look at the moon. Passing clouds. Hammer fist. The dragon sweeps the cloud. Double uppercut. Double elbow. Split. Grasp the arm. Turn and look back at the moon. Dragon's pass. Butterfly touches the water. White crane kicks with the moon. Butterfly touches the water. Dragon stirs the waves. Split and grasp the arm. Turn and look back at the moon. Rotating threads the shuttle. Passing clouds. And dragon sweeps the cloud, sweeps the sky. Uppercut. Split. Grasp the arm. Turn and look back at the moon. Dragon's passing. And close. All righty. So that was a moderately quicker pace. You can go faster as well. At the same time, there's no point in going faster than that until you feel like you've perfected that. And to perfect that, practice slow most of the time. Then occasionally practice with a little bit more rapidity. One, it's cardiovascularly good, gives you a little bit of a challenge, adds a little more yang energy, it teaches you how to handle the yang within the yin, to stay in, even though you might be generating all this yang energy. Right? It's a good practice, but it's all practice. So, work with it as you see fit. If you feel like there's a section that you're really weak on, break it apart. If you have to relearn other stuff, it's fine. That stuff is in your consciousness. You have practiced. You may not remember all the details. That's okay. This isn't about details anyways. It's about the principles that underlie it. And eventually, the more you repeat this and you start to understand on a deeper level, you'll watch me and you'll begin to really get exactly how I'm doing these moves, how I'm generating the force instead of just putting my hands and arms in places. Because what this is about isn't about where your hands and arms end up. It's about how you generate motion and how you let that motion flow through you. Utilizing our basic functional principles that we've talked about before. Calm and relaxed, centered and grounded, whole and complete, alive and lively. Trisha, thank you guys very much. If you'd like to support my work, and you don't know how, you can go to my coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/Occidental Taoist. I also recommend, if you haven't, just hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel and become a subscriber, because that way you'll get notified every time I release one of these. And I do at least 2 a week. If you were looking for some other exclusive content that really breaks this all down with lots of talking instruction through every piece of it, talking about all the little nuances and details from the very beginning, you can find that work on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Occidental Taoist. And you can subscribe there and get exclusive content. Do that for as long as you like or not. I mean, I cover everything eventually. Sometimes it just, takes me a while to think about covering something again, because Tai Chi is a massive art. Wuxing Long Pai, which is both Tai Chi, Bagua Zhang, a whole Qigong system, Dao Yin, meditation, some other esoteric pieces. That's even bigger, because it includes all of the Tai Chi, which is massive, all of Bagua, which is massive, and then all of each of those other arts, which are all huge, but they're also all interconnected. All right. So if you're interested in any of that, just keep following along. You'll eventually get more. If you find you want to go in a direction and you're not sure, you can't find videos or anything, send me a note. Drop me a line either here on Facebook or on my email, and I'll respond to you as soon as I can. Okay. Thank you guys very much, Trisha, and may you have many blessings of radiant health and a peaceful, happy heart.